Chair is now recognized for an opening statement. Justice is no longer blind in America. Today it's driven by politics. Example number one is President Trump. Bonnie Willis opens an investigation into President Trump in February of 2021, but doesn't bring charges until after he announces he's running for president. Alvin Bragg said, quote, "I could not see a world in which I would indict Trump and call Mr. Cohen as a prosecution witness." In our justice system, they believe that because there is. And we're going to have lots of questions about that problem.
Unfortunately, Republicans on this committee, under the chairman's leadership, don't want to help DOJ employees do their jobs. They want to stop them from doing any work at all, taking them out at the knees, because that's what Donald Trump wants. These Republicans don't care what's in the interest of the American people. They just care about getting their favorite felon back in the White House. General Garland, thank you for being here today. I apologize in advance for the wild conspiracies and lies that will be told about you today.
Would you please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Need a break? We're going to be here. We're going to have to go to the floor and vote. Anytime you need a break, just have your team get a hold of our team and we'll be.
As Attorney General, I will continue to forcefully defend the independence of the Justice Department from improper influence or interference of any kind. And I will continue to fiercely protect the integrity of our criminal investigations. Nothing will deter me from fulfilling my obligation to uphold the rule of law. Fulfilling that obligation includes ensuring that the Justice Department respects Congress's important role in our democracy. That is why we have gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure that the committee gets responses to its legitimate requests for information. That is why I have provided the committee with Special Counsel Hur's report, why the Special Counsel testified for more than 5 hours, and why we have gone beyond precedent to provide the committee with the transcripts of the Special Counsel's interview with the President. But we have made clear that we will not provide audio recordings from which the transcripts that you already have were created. Releasing the audio would chill cooperation with the department in future investigations, and it could influence witnesses' answers if they thought the audio of their law enforcement interviews would be broadcast to Congress and the public. Now, in response, certain members of this committee and the Oversight Committee are seeking contempt as a means of obtaining, for no legitimate purpose, sensitive law enforcement information that could harm the integrity of future investigations. This effort is only the most recent in a long line of attacks on the Justice Department's work. It comes alongside threats to defund particular department investigations, most recently the Special Counsel's prosecution of the former president. It comes alongside false claims that a jury verdict in a state trial brought by a local district attorney was somehow controlled by the Justice Department. That conspiracy theory is an attack on the judicial process itself. It comes as individual career agents and prosecutors have been singled out just for doing their jobs. It comes as baseless and extremely dangerous falsehoods are being spread about the FBI's law enforcement operations. And it comes at a time when we are seeing heinous threats of violence being directed at the Justice Department's career civil servants. These repeated attacks on the Justice Department are unprecedented and they are unfounded. These attacks have not and they will not influence our decision-making. I view contempt as a serious matter, but I will not jeopardize the ability of our prosecutors and agents to do their jobs effectively in future investigations. I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated. We will continue to do our jobs free from political influence, and we will not back down from defending democracy.
Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over.
Say again, you're asking
Yes or no?
me, you're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're
before
connecting the
another
dots,
court.
Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on
Okay,
on an
so you
action
won't
in
comment on
another
it, Mr.
court.
Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo,
false.
Matthew
False.
Colangelo
Recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, do you want to respond? Thank you. My Republican colleagues seem to believe that the Department of Justice is secretly coordinating the now successful prosecution of former President Trump in New York. Is there any truth to this allegation? And what is your response to this allegation?
The case in New York is brought by the Manhattan District Attorney independently on his own volition and on his own determination of what he believed was a violation of state law.
Mr. Attorney General, 2 weeks ago,
But you
You
didn't
should
know about it.
know-
But
you-
this
you-
guy was so important, you have to bring him from Europe back here to go after President Trump, name him as a special counsel. Do you regret the pick?
I'm sorry,
Do you regret picking him?
no, I do not regret picking him.
Well, prosecutors aren't supposed to tamper with evidence, and it looks like that's what he did. He changed the sequence of the documents that he seized from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sorry, that's a false characterization, but that is ongoing.
Here's what he said to the court, Mr. Attorney General. There are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as in the associated scans. I mean, he said it. I didn't say it. He told the court that.
Now you're asking me to comment on a discovery dispute that's ongoing in a court. I don't know the facts of it, and I'm not
No,
going to comment on it.
this is from Jack Smith filing with the court.
If you claim you back the blue but want to defund the police, when the police go to your nominee's house to retrieve national...
That's the problem of all my Republican colleagues right now, and that is they're about to nominate a convicted felon. And they don't know how to cope with that. They don't know how to cope with the justice system that, in fact, treats Donald Trump the same as it would any other citizen. And so they have to push these conspiracy theories that they know are patently false. And they try to run over you with questions they won't let you answer, because their whole arguments are utterly insupportable and destructive of our justice system.
Information.
Did they consult with you specifically about that idea, that notion where they were going to say something like, quote, this is from the pleading, the passage of time and advancements in audio artificial intelligence and deepfake technologies only amplify concerns about malicious manipulation of audio files, close quote. Did they consult with you about that provision?
I'm not going to talk about internal department deliberations.
See,
that was one
this
of
is
the
the-
large number of explanations in the document you're talking about.
And I'm talking specifically about that particularized rationale. And you don't want to discuss it, which is why you're non-responsive. And that's why we need the audio. Now, let me explain why.
You said that you will not be intimidated. Are you the arbiter?
I'm sorry?
Are you the arbiter, the decider of whether or not those tapes will be provided to this Congress at the subpoena of its committee to investigate the president?
Constitution requires me to protect the separation of powers and our ability to do investigations in the future. It requires me, and the court proceedings make that clear, to weigh whatever interests you have against the interests of law enforcement. The president has asserted executive privilege, and I have not heard a legitimate legislative reason why the audio is insufficient for any purpose, the legitimate purpose.
You know
that have.
what, you know what demeanor evidence is, don't you, sir?
I'm sorry.
Demeanor evidence. You know what that is. You
I'm
sat on
not-
the bench for decades.
Something to do with the Manhattan District Attorney bringing the suit. Mr. Garland, you talked about in your written testimony the role of the Department of Justice in upholding the rule of law. Can you speak to that a little more?
So I have devoted my entire career to ensuring that the rule of law is the rule that the Justice Department applies and that the courts apply, that we follow the precedents that we treat like cases alike, that we do not have enemies or friends, that we do not pay attention to the political parties or the wealth or the power or the influence of the people that we are investigating, that we follow the facts and the law. This is what distinguishes this country from our adversaries. And an attack on the rule of law tears down people's confidence in the basic fundamental element of our democracy, that all people will be treated equal. And I intend to continue to protect the rule of law, to protect the 115,000 career employees of my department, to make sure that they can continue to go about their job, which is to do the right thing every day and not to be distracted by outside influences, political or otherwise.
Expired, Mr. Attorney General, we understand you want to break. Can we do one more 5 minutes, and then we'll take a little break?